Are you ready to branch out, to take a leap of faith, to love yourself and others fully? Then let go of whatever no longer serves you to take action now on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills, living it up, loving it up, and letting it go. Erica will energize and excite you to power up your passionate dream that sets your soul on fire. With Erica's E3 approach, equipping, empowering, and enlightening yourself so you can be yourself for yourself. Get ready and get rooted to live a life without regrets, without what ifs, without should haves, and especially without empty feelings from a life unexplored. This hit show helps you build powerful and intentional roots to live it up, love it up, and let it go. Get fearlessly ready and powerfully rooted in your yes with your host, Erica Gifford Mills, and be fearless about your more and stand in your yes. Now on Get Rooted Radio.
Welcome, everyone. I am Erica Gifford Mills, and you are listening to Get Rooted Radio. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go, right here on Transformation Talk Radio. A big shout out, as always, to my producer today, Moxie. Moxie, how are you doing?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for asking.
So we're talking about leadership today, and I think we've all had wonderful and empowering leaders. At least I hope we all have had. But I'm pretty sure we've also had leaders that maybe have dropped the ball, maybe lacked that empowering, that motivation. Today's episode is titled, Let the Next Leaders Lead, and that is what she does. We really must think about developing the next generation of leaders because it's a rite of passage for us. And we have the ability to do that. We must also think about our responsibility to those coming after us and the longevity of those organizations and really our world. It all starts with our community as we branch out personally and professionally. We must get them ready to take our place in our organizations, in our community organizations, business and professional, and also advocacy, because we need them to take us to the next level, to another level. And we must let them in and let them lead. But first, a bit about my guest. Those who know her best describe Dr. Sheila Trapp as authentic, passionate, and intentional, and she is definitely that. She has over 30 years of leadership experience as a seasoned senior level leader. She is most interested in coaching and developing the next generation of leaders. Dr. Trapp has fundamental skills in understanding equity, inclusion, belonging, and building organizational capacity. She has coordinated numerous activities to develop strong community programs, create safe spaces for growth, and opportunities for others. In the framework of giving back, Dr. Trapp serves on several boards, is a leadership coach at Rutgers University, and a doctoral mentor for the University of Phoenix College of Doctoral Studies. Dr. Trapp is a native of Plainsville, New Jersey, and the owner of S. Renee Consultant Group, which serves to refine leadership on all fronts. She's a doctorate in management with specialization in organizational leadership and master's degree in organizational management and theological studies. She is a designated certified public manager and the author of several books. She is sought after internationally as a speaker and lecturer on various topics surrounding leadership. It is my honor and privilege to have Dr. Trapp on the show today. Thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me. It's my honor.
So you have, before we jump into this topic, you have a new book coming out very soon. Tell listeners about it.
Well, my next book coming out is called Let the Next Leaders Lead. And basically, that's exactly what it's about. It's about getting ready for the next generations to take over. And I think the important thing to remember is that we have two generations coming behind us that are with us already in the workplace, Generation Z and the millennials. And they're going to lead in a different way. And I just really believe it's time for us to see what they see, to include them in our visions and our missions for our organizations, and to really start bringing them into the fold of leadership, because they're going to be the people to take after once we're, not gone, but just not there. And I think they need our wisdom. They need knowledge that we've gained, but we need their energy. We need to know the way that they do things. I mean, in the spirit of AI and some of the things that are coming up, it's kind of like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. They They are growing up in an age where we need to listen to them as much as they need to listen to us. And I consider myself to be a bridge builder for the generations to come together.
And that is so important because many times they're already thrust into a leadership position, which they may not be ready for, just because they haven't had that mentorship. And I think it's awesome that you are that bridge builder to help that.
Yes, I try to be.
So in your book, you talk about finding your who. What is this term that you use and how? Explain it to our listeners.
Okay. Well, finding your who was transpired by me finding my who, actually. I think Mark Twain said it best. He said the two most important days of our lives are one, the day we're born, and the day we find out why. But to me, number 3 is when you find out who for. For a number of years, like so many of us, we have a purpose in life. And once we find out why we were born and the things that we do, we grow into this purpose. And this is what I do. This is who I am. And probably just recently did I realize that my purpose is really not what I do. My purpose is found in the people who I'm doing it for, meaning that if I'm doing what I say I'm called to do or my purpose to do, it is the people who receive what I'm giving, who's getting my purpose. And once I started realizing that, it kind of turned me around in terms of my why and what I do, because who I do it for just became so much more important because what I have is not for everyone. Just a little background on the who is that I spent so many years in senior leadership roles, and I really believe that I was growing my experience. I thought it would be my life as an executive director or chief operating officer. Like, this is what I do. And I took some time to spend with my son, who's a millennial, and his wife, who's a Gen Z. And it was the greatest learning experience of my life. Something I did for free, something I do again. And they taught me so much about the way the world works in their minds. And as two leaders in their own rights, they're raising the next generation, the alphas, who we're just so not ready for. You know, my granddaughter is like, I don't know, she's someone else. I learned from her. I was just with them this weekend. So it's like really fresh in my mind that they're very different. And I'm just starting to get to know them because they're not even of age to really be leaders, but she's going to lead something. I'd hope it's something good. But I spent like 20% of my time doing what I love, which is coaching and developing others. And 80% was just, the job. It was making decisions. It was being a part of something that was bigger than myself. But the 20% I longed for. So once I started really developing myself in terms of being in a household with a millennial and a Gen Z and really learning again, I started doing leadership coaching at Rutgers University. I am a leadership coach. I volunteered to do it. I started teaching a class, and then the leadership coach through Braven came, and it is the most important thing I do all week, actually. It is just refined my path because now I can be much more intentional about who I give my gifts to. With the next generations of leaders, I find a real authentic stance. I find highly effective place where something's happening and somebody's really getting what I'm teaching. Somebody's really transforming. Somebody's really taking what I say in my authentic self and learning and growing from it. So I've become much more intentional. It's clarified my why. So now I do a certain thing, but I know who I do it for. And it's just become so important just to know who that is. I make all my decisions now based on this opportunity. Will I be working with my who? This opportunity, I know I can deliver my why and my purpose, but will I be working with my who? And it's changed the trajectory of my life and the things that I do.
And why does that matter so much, right? And I know that sounds like a little silly of a question, right? Of course, finding our purpose, it gives us purpose. It gives us clarity. And doing it for your who, of course, that's even more rewarding. But what does that finding your who, why is that important to the work that one might do?
I think it's important because for me, there is success and then there's real success. And for me, the key to my success has really been compassion, matched with my expertise, but something that only requires me. And that's one of the things that I've found in working with the next generations of leaders. It's like the key to Sheila is found in my work with them. And I think it's developed a new mindset in me. And I think it's really important for us to come to a place in our lives where we understand that the best gift you're ever going to give someone is the permission to feel safe in their own skin and to feel worthy and to feel like they're enough. And if you're doing that constantly every day, you learn about yourself that this is what my life was really all about. And that just doesn't happen with everyone that you come across. I also think that in leadership, we're always looking for a great leadership application. So for me, I'm a servant leader. That is just who I am. I'm a servant leader. I'm a transformational leader. I can be situational in different situations, but I've found that working with my who has come the emergence of my greatest leadership application, which is the conductor. The conductor plays no instrument, turns his back on the crowd, faces those they serve. They honor the gifts in others, and they coordinate efforts. They don't make any sound. Their power depends on other people and other people's ability to be powerful. And I found that this is like my best leadership application. So it's like finding my best self, being able to apply my purpose, my why to the people who it belongs to. It's been very, very powerful. But it also gives me a feeling of today, instead of leading organizations, for me, finding my who has allowed me to do it just for the music. Just for leadership. It's not for the organization. It doesn't belong to a mission. It doesn't belong to the CEO. It's just for the music. It's to bring out the best leaders and leadership in the next generations of leaders. Just as simple as that.
And what you've just said there, for the listeners, what you don't know is what she's saying right here is completely Sheila. She is that authentic, really in it because she loves it. And that's why, we need more leaders like that who can teach others to be like that. And I don't know, how long have we known each other now? Oh, it's going on, 7 years? Maybe longer.
About 7 years, maybe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. But it is so important when you find that, right? It's almost like when you find your tribe and you find that person who can give you that motivation, that teachings and really light you up. And it's so important. And that's what we need to do, because if we are going to complain about the next generation, right? You hear a lot of that going around. Oh, those Gen Z, those millennials, those, whatever it might be. Then let's be a part of the solution. Let's not just complain about it. What is it? Because it's probably not them. It could very well be us, because the world is changing. Therefore, we need that leadership models to also change.
Absolutely. And they won't stay. And they won't stay unless we let them in and we listen to the things that they're talking to and talking about. And I think the other thing too is just is that what I found was that I get to be the things I love most about the people who helped me. I get to just be the supportive one, the one that helps them grow, the one that helps them with their career doors, the one that helps them network. I just get to be the people who have done things for me, and most of them are no longer in my life. The things I loved about being coached and developed, I get to be that person. And it just warms my heart to be able to do it 80% and not just the 20.
Yeah. So let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about bravely belonging. Before we go, Sheila, tell folks how they can learn more about your book and get it once it's out.
Oh, well, it will be on every platform where you can purchase books. My main place is on Amazon or Esplanade Consultant Group. You can actually email me at esplanadeconsult@gmail.com. And I'll be doing book signings all over the country and in some parts of the world, outside of the country, internationally as well for the first time. So there will be several places, but Amazon will be your main place to get my book.
Perfect. Thank you so much. You are listening to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. If you missed any portion of today's episode, you can catch it on getrootedradio.com. That's getrootedradio.com. Don't forget to subscribe online to receive the latest news, events, specials, and words of encouragement. Go to getrootedradio.com. Welcome back to my guest, Dr. Sheila Trapp. Sheila, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So during the last segment, we talked about finding your who. This segment, we will be getting into bravely belonging. So in the book, you do talk about bravely belonging. What do you mean by that?
Bravely belonging is very dear and near to my heart because when we first started the DEI, framework, and then they added the B, I didn't understand the B when they talked about belonging, because for me, belonging is not a feeling, it's a right. It's my right to belong. But belonging is not something that someone can give me. I need to give it to myself. And so digging deeper into belonging is an inner sanctuary. It's like a self-choice. I decide if I belong or not. Like other people don't decide, I decide if I belong or not. And we have to have courage to make sure when we're showing up ourselves and our authentic selves, that we get to be there. We have a right to be there. We have a right to belong. So it's our choice whether we're experiencing this right that I belong here, my talents belong here, my abilities belong here, my gifts belong here. And to make sure that the way that we see ourselves and we see our talents, abilities, and gifts are being used properly. The feeling of belonging must come from internal places. It can't come from somewhere external. You saying that I belong. I have a right to belong. And if I don't belong, if I don't feel internally that I belong, it's an inner consciousness for me to unpack. Why don't I belong here? Why don't I feel like I belong here? Because it's never anything external. It doesn't have to be. Because we're all free people, when we're free to choose whether we want to stay or we want to leave, or whether we want to belong or we don't want to belong. And I just think if we take that away from someone else's responsibility, that we'll be more brave to say, this is who I am. One of my favorite things to say is that you can't beat me at being Sheila Trapp. If it's not Sheila Trapp that should be here, Sheila Trapp gets the choice to leave. I'm not asking you to change your organization so that I feel good about being here. I'm leaving because I don't belong here. And then that's always going to be okay. So kind of taking back that strength that about belonging and taking it back so that we can own it for ourselves and not that someone else's responsibility. So I say bravely belonging because it requires courage. It requires courage to show up yourself every day and say, this is who I am. And if it doesn't belong, it just doesn't belong. And being brave enough to stay in your stance as yourself, or brave enough to leave if it's somewhere that doesn't fit you. And so that's kind of where it comes from for me. More of a place of like, take back that belonging. They don't say we belong. It's our right to belong.
Yeah. And I love that, because I feel that there are some people or organizations that believe it's your benefit because you belong, right? As opposed to that should be the first thing that you do is you belong, right? And if you being able to be at the table, not only being invited, but knowing that you have a right to be there, but also that when you walk away, that those people are going to, well, not talk about you, but talk about you in a powerful way. Include you and want for you to succeed. And when we don't have that sense that that's our automatic right to belong, that changes a person's attitude, their feelings towards themselves almost. I mean, I always think of Eleanor Roosevelt, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. But at times, people can be cruel and organizations can sometimes be cruel and give you to the point where they are making you feel that way because you're fighting for something that should already be given to you.
Absolutely.
And it's not about, and I want listeners to, this is not a confusion over entitlement versus belonging. Those are very different.
Absolutely. 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 And I think the big thing too, when you think about belonging, it's we also don't want to confuse it with acceptance. I shouldn't work here and my whole goal is to be accepted by someone. I come in, I bring who I am, and I bring my talents like everybody else has talents. So it's not working towards acceptance either. But you want your talents to be valued. You want things to be utilized about you and not used, but use them as they're intended to be used. Whatever it is you're doing, writing or counseling or whatever the job is. If I do it well, I belong. Shouldn't be anything else about me but what I bring to the work. Not your color, not your creed, not your sexuality, not anything. If I could do the work like everyone else does the work, I belong. So, yeah. But sometimes it takes bravery to do that because not everybody is going to, bring you in the fold. We have to decide how much we need to be in the fold, how much we need to feel like people like you or they accept you. How much do we need that? Because a lot of times that's about us. That's not about what they're doing. It's about how we feel about what we're doing and what we think people owe us. And no one owes us anything. We come, we do our jobs, we get along with certain people, and we go home and we have our families. And I'm a strong believer that the same person that comes to work every day should be the same person that goes home. I know there's been a lot of talk about being different people. And I'm one of those people that never knew how. I'm Sheila all day. You get me, you get all of this. So I don't know how to do that. And I know that there's people who could turn things on and off. And I don't think we should have to. I should be able to be Sheila. This is who I am. I shouldn't have to come to work and pretend to be anyone else. I'm not going to probably be as personal with people, but I'm still going to be the same person. I'm going to have the same values. I'm going to, make sure that I am always true to myself in any situation. And I think bravely belonging just encourages people. Be yourself. Just please be yourself. It's your superpower. Be yourself. Just be you.
Yeah. Nobody else is you, right? That's why you need to be authentic because you are an original. There's nobody else. Maybe some people have the same beliefs. Maybe they have the same backgrounds. But everybody has something a little different. And that really, as you said, that's your superpower. You being you. And I find it interesting because I always have to tell people who I am and what my role is, depending on how you know me, it's very different, right? Because, I have positions that are as a compliance officer. Some people see me as my role. Oh, I got to go. I screwed up. I did something. And they think that's who I am, right? And no, that's my role. And then there's other people who know me as a coach. And, oh, so this is who you are. No, that's what I do, right? And that's where I think there's so different, especially when we can go globally with leadership, with coaching, because the first thing a lot of Americans say is, "Oh, what do you do?" As if that defines me. Not tell me about yourself. Who are you, right? And whereas you go to other countries, that's not the first thing that they say. They don't say, "Oh, so what do you do?" Because that doesn't define you. It's your actions. It's how you lead. It's how you treat people. And that is what we need to remember, that we are all different. How we lead, how we receive is different. And we need to be transforming and understanding that belonging. Your who is one reason why you do things, right? But your belonging also lets you set the stage on, this is where I'm going. And being, like you said, authentic, brave, because it's hard. Especially it's wrong if what is it? If something's wrong. Wrong is wrong, even if everybody's doing it right.
Everybody.
Right. If nobody's doing it right.
Absolutely. So perfect.
It's hard to stand up and say things sometimes. But it's important to.
It is. It's important to, and it's important to make sure that the next generations of leaders don't make those mistakes that maybe we may have made at some point. And just encourage them to to do them, be you. Let the world adjust. You don't adjust and be someone else. You let the world adjust to who you are. That's how it's supposed to work. I'm not sure that I was always like that. I'm like that today. I like to say I'm not just like that because I'm older. I hope I'm like that because of experience and oppression. There are many of us as women or as Black people or people of color who have been oppressed in certain places. And if we take that oppression and we create more of a brave, courageous situation from it, even if the first time we did not stand, the second time we need to try and stand just a little bit, and each time get stronger and convince ourselves, no matter how much we have to do self-talk, we're not going to be oppressed. And we're going to do something about it because we're just as worthy as being anywhere as anyone else. And one of the things I use in my classes and in my coaching, and when I talk about bravely belonging, is you will rise from the ashes when we have hard times or we're feeling oppressed, but the burning comes first. And for that part, you got to be brave. So it's there may be pain and there may be decisions that hurt and things that hurt us. But we still have to be brave. We still have to rise from the ashes, and we will rise from the ashes. But the burning still comes. The burning is still there, and the burning still comes, so that people don't think that it's easy. That's why it takes bravery. It's not easy. It's something to get over. It's something to get through. And while you're going through it, that self-talk really helps. Like, I belong here. I bravely belong. I need to be brave. I need to have courage because I deserve and I'm worthy to be here just as much as anyone else is. And then also knowing when the fight is over. Sometimes there may be a fight and sometimes it's just not. It's just not worth it. Or you just really don't belong there. And that's why it's your decision. You can't be mad because if there's a feeling of not belonging, you unpack it and you don't give strength to someone else giving it to you. You decide, why do I feel this way? Unpack those feelings and make sure that it's an internal feeling and it's not you just seeking acceptance from others. Say I'm good. Say I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, say I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm doing a good job. Now I don't feel like I belong. No, we have to find an inner strength that says, I'm doing a good job. You don't need those people from the outside saying how great you are. You got to know that you're great on your own.
Yep. And so you don't need that external validation. Don't get me wrong. Does it feel good? Of course. But you can't rely on that. You need to, you need to feel yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And don't be afraid to fail because you will, right? It means you're trying and going through and understanding what is that process? What could I have done better? What could I have done? What did I do right? And let's be okay with failing because you do learn so much, not only of maybe the process you're doing, but of yourself. How did I overcome that obstacle? What do I need to work on for next time? What can I seek out assistance from somebody else that maybe understands something better? Because that's okay. I mean, we don't know everything. We may want to know everything, but we don't.
Absolutely. And I think when we look back on it, we learn more from our losses than we did from anything that we gain. I mean, it's, people say you learn or you win or you learn. And I'm like, no, you lose. Let's stop telling people that you lose and you feel that loss. You do. So we can't say we're going to learn too, but we still lose. And it is an opportunity to turn those challenges into opportunities whenever we're faced by them. But losing, like you said, even when we don't do well and we fail, it's like so much to learn right there. We have to unpack it, and it's happening for a reason. And I've seen it happen in my own life, in the lives of others. If you don't learn the lesson that's there to teach you, it will come back again. It's all for learning. And if you don't learn it, you'll see it again. You'll see it again, and hopefully by that time you say, "Oh, got it."
Thank you. Now, I finally got that one.
Got that one. Now let's go on to the next one.
Yeah. Well, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about spiritual intelligence. Before we go, Dr. Trapp, tell listeners how they can learn more about you and your books and just you reach out to you for more information.
Well, you can learn more about me and my books by contacting me, the S. Renee Consulting Group, sreneconsult@gmail.com. I'm always getting emails about how do we get in touch with you? How do we get this? How do we book you? Or help? How can you help us in our organizations? Or you can get my books on Amazon. This is actually my 8th book, I believe. Yes, my 8th book. They're all on Amazon. This new book should be available on Amazon in July, August, somewhere around that time. But please shoot me an email, get in touch with me. I'd love to hear from you, even if it's just a question. I watch my email every day and I answer all emails right after I get them because I'm so excited to be contacted and to be of help.
Thank you so much. I'm Erica Gifford Mills, and you are listening to Get Rooted Radio, living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills, living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Don't forget to visit getrootedradio.com to listen to a replay of this episode, sign up for helpful tips, and learn about upcoming events. That's getrootedradio.com. Welcome back to my guest, Dr. Sheila Trapp. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. We could sit for hours and talk. It's unfortunate for listeners, or maybe fortunate, I'm not sure, that they only get an hour of us here. But during the last 2 segments, we've discussed finding your who and bravely belonging. And during this segment, we're going to talk about spiritual intelligence. So what do you mean by spiritual intelligence?
Spiritual intelligence is considered the ultimate intelligence, actually. It's a place, it's about self, it's about who we are every second of the day. It's about how we access the world, how we access knowledge, how we commune with others, and how we commune with things that are greater than ourselves, God. And it's individually based on a decision to engage in its fundamentals, and there's 12 principles of spiritual intelligence. And we could spend all day on talking about all 12 principles, but I will give you the 12 principles. The first one is self-awareness. It brings about an authentic leader and a framework for effective communication. Spontaneity brings authentic behavior to leadership, utilizing responsibility in the moment. Being vision and value-led gives leaders a sense of understanding something larger than the organization. Holism, which fosters leadership effectiveness and leaders who can collaborate with a sense of oneness. Compassion, which allows a leader to recognize and accept feelings and feel them with knowledge of their enemy without retribution. Celebration of diversity allows the leader to appreciate differences as an educator of what matters. Field independence, it gives the leaders the okay to stand alone and be a visionary. Humility, which allows leaders to understand their part in the larger organization and the larger performance. A tendency to ask why questions empowers leaders with the understanding of playing a game with boundaries that they define. The ability to reframe, which allows us to look at the big picture and combat short-term thinking. Positive use of adversity, which provides leaders with the aptitude to admit mistakes and recognize pain and change as unavoidable. And a sense of vocation, what we were talking about earlier, is having a sense of purpose and a vow of service to something higher than themselves. And these principles actually were introduced to me while I was getting my doctorate. And I actually coined my entire dissertation surrounding spiritual intelligence and public servant leadership, and kind of really dug deep into who knew about it, because I was just hearing about it. Like, many people have no clue what it is, and they think it's a church situation, or it comes from that space. And it may have been born from great leaders like Jesus and Moses, and but as much as that comes from a biblical or Judaism, it is still following the ways of great leadership. And that's where it was born. And it has become really the center of the way that I lead and the way that I see things in the world, from a place of gratitude and a place that's greater than me. and thinking about the things that I bring into any leadership role. And these principles certainly are my guide.
So you have, your IQ, your intellectual intelligence, you've got your EQ, your emotional intelligence, but what really sits on top, as you said, the highest is that spiritual intelligence.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's so important because it's one, self-awareness, right, is so important, because I think that's where many of us fall short at one point in time or another, right? We're perfectly imperfect. I'm always going, yeah, I really was not self-aware on that one, wasn't I? Right? It's a constant growth. It's that understanding of self, and then being, like you said, compassionate, commitment to those human values, and that's where I think it is so important that you hear so much of the, of course, IQ, and then then we got into the EQ, your emotional intelligence, and all that, but I think there isn't enough talk about the SQ, because when we can come from a place of compassion and we can understand the various components or dimensions, right? I think that's so important, because then you're a well-rounded leader.
Absolutely.
And we need that, right? We all need that for ourselves, but also for those around us.
Absolutely. And there's an inner self, there's an inner communing outside of working with others. It's about seeing myself, seeing Sheila. I don't know if you watch Suits. Suits is one of my favorite shows, and Donna always says, I'm Donna. So this is kind of like, I'm Sheila. But if I don't know who that Sheila is, and I don't know what I bring to the table, it's scary, and it's scary. You got to know yourself. And there's this whole inner situation that should be happening, and you should pull on principles, things that not only you practice, but they come from a place of a real inner self. How I commune with you is having a sense of purpose. So that sense of purpose is always in me. It's a part of who I am, of being vision and value led. No matter what I'm doing, I have a vision and I'm led by my values, and I should be known by what those are. And I need to know what those are in order to apply them every day and in every situation. And then, just being able to be field independent and to be able to stand alone. And I stand alone because I am value led and I do value certain things. And I'm Sheila, so. It's like, I'm Sheila. So this is who I am. I've found that practicing these principles, and even when I teach them, it creates quality people. Whether you're in a leadership role or not, practicing and understanding these principles and communing with things that are greater than yourselves, and communing with and understanding that someone created us for a purpose to do something. There's just this whole feeling of, like you said earlier, a whole person, a bigger whole person, a person who understands who they are, practices principles that come from the inside out onto others. And we should be known for those things. We should be known for our holism, for, having a sense of oneness that, again, I'm Sheila. And I can commune and collaborate with so many other people, but I'm also, myself at all times, and being okay with who that person is. So spiritual intelligence is just another way of self-discovery, and it's a framework. And to become quality people and quality leaders, as you said, this is a big deal. This is like the ultimate knowledge of self that we should be seeking.
And I think that some people get afraid when they see spiritual, right? Or they think, well, how do you, my religion, right, is not your religion, or whatever it might be. And it's why I think it's so important to forget what you know about something or a word and learn about it. Because just like when, I don't want to say when emotional intelligence first came out, but when it first came out, right, it's people thought, oh, it's about emotions, right? And it's like, no, forget what you think you know, and let's learn. And that becomes even more important. And I feel like, you nailed it on you wanting to be you no matter where you are. That is why spiritual intelligence is so important to you. And I can totally see why you would have really dove deep into that with your dissertation, because that makes sense. It's
Absolutely.
where you are compassionate and you're a leader. And I think also folks to remember that you don't have to be in a leadership role professionally to be a leader.
Absolutely.
Think about your families, think about your community, think about people who you don't even know are watching you.
Absolutely.
You lead others. And even if you are a line level staff person, you are a leader. People may come to you for guidance, even if you're not in that leadership role. You're not the VP, you're not the director, you're not the CEO. We all have the ability and should lead others by our actions and learning from ourselves and learning from other events that have happened around us.
Absolutely. Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I teach a class called Leadership on All Levels. And so there's a responsibility, even if you're just leading yourself. When you look at these principles, they're about us. It's not even about what you give to the world. It's about who you are as a person. So you're dead right that I think we all lead in our own ways, wherever we are, at home or, in a religious connotation, wherever it is that we are, that we're leaders in some way, and really looking at that. I just call it quality people. We're trying to develop quality people, especially in the next generation of leaders. And so what quality looks at is what we should be guiding, teaching, and mentoring.
Absolutely. And that's a great place to take a break. So when we come back, we're going to discuss the partnership approach. This is Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. If you missed any of the information during the last segments, go to getrootedradio.com. That's getrootedradio.com to listen to a replay. Don't forget to subscribe, sign up for tips and special events and pricing for upcoming coaching sessions at getrootedradio.com. Welcome back to my guest, Dr. Sheila Trapp. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So tell listeners how they can learn more about you, the things that we've been talking about, your books and your upcoming book.
Well, my book coming out is Let the Next Leaders Lead, as we've discussed, and it will be available wherever books are sold. My main platform is on Amazon, or if anyone's interested in reaching out to me, you can hit me up on LinkedIn to Sheila Trapp, and I look, DM me, find me, reach out to me. I love hearing from people, or you can email me at sreneconsult at gmail.com. If you're looking for any kind of trainings or individualized coaching or just to ask a question, I'm always available and I love hearing from others.
Awesome. So in this last segment, which I can't believe it's already coming to an end, you developed a new approach for the next generation of leaders. Tell us about it.
Well, the approach is called In Partnership, which is empowering and partnering. Combined. Everybody says it's not a word, and I learned a long time ago, it's Sheila's word. In Sheila's world, it is a word. I created it. It's called In Partnership, and it's an approach that's about self-development and kind of knowing our true selves. So a lot of things we've been talking about is our who and our authentic selves and spiritual intelligence. This approach is about utilizing those things and many other things. And it's not what others want us to do or be, but it's a development about who we are. So it's more of an inner training that allows people to discover who they are, and it allows them to understand their own brilliance. And I think that's something that we come to know, but this is like a fast track into who are you? Let's learn your superpower right here. And it kind of starts there. And it creates leadership capacity for the next generation of leader, because it encourages a practice and encourages an understanding of self and to be able to practice showing up ourselves. And there are several pieces to the In Partnership approach. One is talking about integrity. I start with integrity. The next is developing the courage to lead, because it does take courage to be a leader, and being honest about that it takes courage to be a leader. Developing the soul intellect, or developing spiritual intelligence, prioritizing inspiration, co-ownership, sincerity, the arena with the lack of judgment, meaning personal judgment, and encouraging how and when to use their brilliance. And so there's different sections that we uncover when we're working with the next generations of leaders, and really letting them explore who they are within all of these different pieces. And it's been quite transforming for many of the leaders that I work with, just really learning about themselves within the role of leadership, because that person is the leader. The person that you bring into any role you're the leader. You're not putting something on. It is who you are. So if you discover those great things about yourself, and if we teach others how to coach and develop the next generations of leaders with some of these pieces and the approach that I'm putting forth in the partnership approach, we get to help leaders develop and lead well, not only with the knowledge of self, but also with the knowledge of how to partner with others, how to explore a posture of growth and discovery in the people who they're going to lead, and to continue to learn for themselves. So it really sets people up for a really good commitment to self-development.
And again, that goes full circle. I mean, we need to do that self-development. We all should be lifelong learners, because so many things change, not only in your industry, in the world, in everything that is coming through. And I think your great example is the, AI. I still laugh when I think about technology and just how long. It doesn't seem like if you really think about it, we haven't had computers that long. The internet hasn't been. So it's rapidly changing, and everything along with that. How we work, how we play, how we raise children, how we educate, everything. And so if we continue to have that lifelong learning, we continue to develop, and we become more self-aware and just grow.
Absolutely. And it's so important to have not only that framework of acceptance, but also something that people can go back to. As you discover yourself, it creates a platform for let's continue to discover. Let's continue to discover, some of the things we talk about. You talked about emotional intelligence earlier, but no one talks about integrity and emotional intelligence. What does that mean? And so a lot of the partnership approach brings things together. Like we talk about courage, but there's moral courage, there's disciplined courage, there's intellectual courage, there's and empathic courage. So it's like, what do those things mean? So it takes things that we've learned to a whole nother level. And I think those are the things that create this inner understanding, this inner discovery. Who am I within these things? And a lot of the partnership approach is a lot of talking, it's a lot of discovery, it's journaling. It's people getting to know who they are on their own level. No competition. Just really learning who you are and who is it that we get when we see you in this leadership role. What do we get when we get you? Which is one of the questions. What do we get when we get you? And most of the younger leaders, they really just don't know. They're practicing what they've seen. So this really helps them develop as leaders, but also, again, develop as quality people. And that's what we want in this world. When we're old, we want people to take care of us that are of quality.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Sheila, for being on the show today. It's always an honor and pleasure to be able to share all that you have and just speak with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so pleased to be here, and thank you again for the opportunity. And hopefully people will get my book and try and get in touch with me. LinkedIn would be the best way to do it, at Sheila Trapp. I'd love to hear from you.
And thank you. And I want to thank you all for tuning in to Get Rooted Radio. If you missed any part of today's episode, or you just want to listen again, which I suggest you do, Go to getrootedradio.com for the podcast, and don't forget to tune in the first and third Monday of each month at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, and 2 p.m. Pacific right here on Transformation Talk Radio. Thank you for tuning in. Have an amazing day, and I'm looking forward to the next time on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills, living it up, loving it up, and letting it go. Visit getrootedradio.com if you've missed any part of this hit show, and tune in on transformationtalkradio.com to live fearlessly in your more and powerfully rooted in your unlimited yes. For more information and to work with Erica directly, visit getrootedradio.com. That's getrootedradio.com, and get ready to live it up, love it up, and let it go.